it's Jerry's 7th birthday. And for those of you who didn't think that we actually do cake for all of the animals' birthdays, this is it. We really, really do. Of course, honestly, we do cake about everything. So Jerry decided that he needed to, because you know what, little boy, you're like covering up the mic. He needed to say hi to all his people. He wanted to share his birthday with you. We're going to sing, okay, Jerry? Feel free to join us. Happy birthday to Jerry. Happy birthday to Jerry. Happy birthday, little rock star.
Dear Jerry Rockstar.
Happy birthday to you. Yay! He just met Twyla for the first time. So
It's not love.
he's feeling a little hard done by at the moment, but he's going to get cake really soon. And hopefully we'll be able to get a cute picture of it, and I'll post it on my community page if I manage to get a picture of him. But there you go, everybody. There's your Jerry fix. He is going to go now and spend the rest of the day celebrating the fact that he turned 7. Bye, little fella. Okay, we're going to let him probably work his way back to the couch, I think. Hang on. Okay, so Jerry's back on the couch doing his thing. I think he's going to have a little nap before cake. I hope I didn't pierce anybody's ears with singing, but you know, it's his birthday. I want to take a look at the trial. So Trump is apparently beyond wild because his defense attorneys made kind of asses of themselves yesterday. And the Democrats put on a really amazing presentation. They are, you know, the defense attorneys are so far outgunned, it's almost embarrassing. But I mean, you know, what are you going to do when you have a guy who doesn't pay his bills and what he's trying to defend is indefensible? I mean, you're not going to get really top of the line attorneys. And so in that way, I guess the chickens have come home to roost for Trump. One of his defense attorneys yesterday sort of basically said, well, if Trump did this, then he should be charged under federal crimes and sent to jail. And then he said, but that hasn't happened, so therefore, well, it will happen. So if that's the best defense they've got is, well, he hasn't been charged yet, you got to know it's not going to go so well. So I want to take a look at Trump, and I want to take a look at the trial. Come on down. I have a question. So let's just do Trump and trial, Trump and trial, Trump and trial. Okay. So he is incredibly angry. He is almost like raging out of control, and he is demanding that his defense team reverts back to the election was stolen, and, you know, I'm the rightful president speech. And that justifies somehow this insurrection that was created. So he's really sort of trapped by his own behavior. He's trapped by his own thinking and his own philosophy. And the thing is he's like a child. He will not let go of what he believes because that suits him. I mean, we just heard that all the people around Trump have to refer to him as the 45th, Mr. 45th president or something, because you can't dare say former in front of him because that just sends him apparently right around a bend. So he's trapped in his own little kind of crazy space right now, and he just rages and rages, and the tighter, or it's almost like the more he rages, the tighter the binds become, because he can't get this thing moving with momentum in the direction he wants it to go. Of course, he's completely foolish because he doesn't realize, I don't think, that the way he wants it to go is even worse. So this tells the story, right? He's trapped because of the steel, because of the behavior. He wants to continue to turn away from the law, turn away from the facts, and as a result, that sojourn as a politician has come to a crashing end. Now, as for those who are trying to, I guess, figure out how they're going to, the jurors, right, the 100 jurors, and try to figure out how they're going to do what they're going to do. So ideally, you would like them to do some soul searching. You would like them to think very carefully about the matters before them and reflect, think about what's good for the country, think about, what their better angels are saying, perhaps listen to constituents who are sane and not part of QAnon when they make their judgment. But at this point, they really still are feeling incredibly defensive and sort of self-protective. They are so frightened that he is going to somehow be able to control their political futures for forever now. And the reality is that he will, unless they stand up to him and tell him to sit down and behave. But for right now, that still seems to be very, very much up in the air. A lot of people are very worried about their reputations going forward. And I mean, it just makes no logical sense to me because, of course, if they've convicted him and then they could take that vote on preventing him from office, then that would take a great deal of the steam out of his sails, right? Also, apparently Twitter has announced that the Donald Trump feeds, the Twitter accounts, are permanently suspended. So that even includes if by some wacky reason he decides to run again. I mean, think about how lovely it's been. There hasn't been all this crazy noise created by him. So he's going to lose the power and momentum. But if these people would stop being so darn self-protective and defensive, that maybe they could actually help move that forward in a way so they might be able to salvage at least some modicum of dignity or decency or something. But for right now, they're still very, very self-focused. What does this do to me? What's my best strategy? It's like, in some ways, they're not even particularly interested in listening to the evidence. They don't want to hear the truth. But it's early days. It's early days. So, because Biden, all the news about Biden that comes out is positive, right? He's doing this, he's getting this accomplished. I can't remember what country it was, but somebody had been holding some people, a student, I think, or a person in jail. And Biden he talked to whatever, the officials were in that country and said, that person needs to be released. And that person was released today. So you have countries going, okay, wait a minute, there's a new sheriff in town and we're not going to be able to mold him the way we did with that fool named Trump. So what's happening as a result is if the news isn't about impeachment and the trial, and frankly, how bad his defense attorneys are doing, well, then the news is about what the next thing was that Biden did to move his agenda forward and start trying to fix and correct some of this stuff. And so that infuriates Trump. It absolutely infuriates him because he wants to control the narrative. He wants the people to know that he's angry and this isn't what he wants and this isn't what he believes and he doesn't deserve this and he's being a victim and on and on and on. So the fact that the trial is not going well and whatever oxygen is left over, Biden is using up, rightly so. It puts Trump in a very, very volatile situation, and kind of almost worse, it puts the senators in kind of a much trickier situation because they, they're trying to figure out what to do to make, I don't know, to not lose face, I suppose, to not end up looking like, what they look like. So let's just take a look at overall how the trial is going to go. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall, frankly, on that one. That 13-minute video that was produced and presented yesterday at the trial was amazing. So well done. So, clips of what he said and then the reactions, and it was very well done. And really, honestly, it feels like it pretty much told the whole story. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, let's take a look. Trial moving forward, trial moving forward, trial moving forward. Okay. So things are going to continue to go bad for Trump. I mean, they don't have a defense. Their defense was how it's unconstitutional to try him, except I think pretty much every impeachment trial has taken place after the person has left the office. So they're arguing something that is just not only incorrect, it definitely says pretty much the opposite of that in the Constitution. So their argument really doesn't hold a lot of water, and that unfortunately is the best they seem to have. So that situation is going to really continue to deteriorate with Trump continuing to try to get people to say what he wants them to say. And again, he doesn't care if these lawyers perjure themselves and then they end up disbarred because of what they're doing. He doesn't care. He doesn't care how many people he, careers he destroys or whatever. He doesn't care. So he's going to continue to try and get them to say what he wants them to say. And you're going to continue to hear reports about him being, very angry and very upset. And frankly, nobody can calm him down. He is just like on the phone. He's talking to people. He's yelling and screaming. Everybody, including Republicans, are saying, wow, that was the worst defense I think I've ever seen. And alternatively, one of the best opening statements people have ever seen by the Democrats. So ultimately, Trump's inability to control his own emotions, it's going to end up being what really, really brings this situation down and ends it. And you have the Four of Wands here. So that's leaning towards the idea that there could very well be a celebration going on for the country, going on around the White House. So that, of course, would be a guilty verdict, or however they phrase that verdict. So there we are there. So let's just carry on and see what else we can find out here. Yeah. Okay. So the presentation that's going to be put on by the defense attorneys is going to continue to be scattered. It's going to continue to not make any sense. You're going to continue to see this trying to rewrite history. And, I suppose that's one thing if you're trying to rewrite history and it's a couple of 100 years ago and, there are no eyewitnesses, except they're trying to rewrite history, for God's sakes, on something that happened like a month ago. And everybody saw it, everybody was there. So really the only strategy the defense has at this point is to muddy the waters. That's it, that's what they've got. And Trump is going to continue in that vein. So the lawyers aren't going to catch a break from him. He's going to keep on yelling and screaming. Don't be surprised if he even fires one of them midway through this. That is just how childlike and juvenile he is, and how his behavior is careening right out of control. And the thing is as the days go by, it really is the wish, if you will, of the American people. I mean, I think the last poll was something like 56% of people said this guy needs to be convicted. So, it's an interesting sort of mashup of energies that is going on right now. And it's going on in the Senate. And of course, by expansion, it's going on around the country, which is you have two groups of people truly functioning with two different sets of facts. And what is so sad about that is that within that, you have a group of senators who, it's not that they believe, except for a few really nutty ones, it's not that they actually believe that the election was stolen, but they can't defend it. And so it's not bad enough that there's the group who has the facts and the group that doesn't have the facts. Then you have that group of senators in the middle who boil down to the group who doesn't care about the facts and who doesn't care about what the Constitution says, because they still have not located that thing between their neck and their butt called a spine. Yeah, Trump is going to continue to antagonize people. And, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. The message that is coming out is very clear and very concise. And, again, Trump is, you got to remember, Trump is sort of like in this alternate universe where he doesn't really remember exactly how everything went. So when he is presented, especially with video evidence, because that's one of the mediums, of course, that Trump really resonates to, right? So as he had to sit there yesterday and watch that 13-minute video, literally laying everything at his doorstep so clearly. And today they're talking about it, because I've only caught a smidgen of it, because, Jerri'S birthday and all. But it seems to me they're now talking about the people, the rioters, who said, well, we were here because that's what Donald Trump wanted. Donald Trump invited us. So they're expanding it. And again, it comes down to this whole mess lays at his feet. He is going to continue to get enraged because, of course, this is a man who through his entire life, we know, has never, ever accepted responsibility for anything. And he certainly has no capacity to accept blame. So going forward, it looks like the message is going to start getting through to perhaps people who, I don't know, maybe feel like they have a little bit more flexibility. Those people who have already decided that they announced their retirement, and the people who were just elected senators in this last election, because frankly, they've got 6 years to try to get people to forget. And honestly, really, come on, people have a really short memory, especially when it comes to politics. So, in, I don't know, the spring of 2025, is anybody actually going to really remember that specific senator voted to impeach Trump? So it looks as if they actually have the potential to bring some of those senators over to their side, and hold on to what needs to be held on to so that they can get this thing through. There's going to be a lot of people trying to juggle, trying to figure out how to walk the line. I actually wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of senators just simply didn't show up to vote. And so what that would do was that would lower, in fact, the number of votes that the Democrats would have to get for conviction, right? Because the 67 senators is based on 100 senators. Well, if there's only 75 senators there, then all of a sudden you don't quite need so many people to make up the difference. So there actually is, believe it or not, and not everybody, okay? I mean, you got the Ted Cruzes and the Hollies and the like that and the Lindsey Grahams. They're not listening to this. They're not absorbing it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't playing some sort of game on their phone as this is going on. But for some of them, it's getting through because they want to make sure, I mean, they're getting, like, literally, they're getting pressure from their families, right? Saying, you vote to acquit him, and you have muddied our name, our family name, dad, mom. Don't do it. So there's pressure coming at these senators from several different directions. And there is a realization that they really are, in a place where whatever they do is going to have a significant impact. A lot of them are just simply going to have to take a really objective look at what has gone on in the last 4 years and simply chart a new course. And, that's the other thing, right? I mean, you got the Republican Party that is now literally no better than a cult. And you've got Republicans in there who are needing to figure out if this really is going to be the look of the party going forward, or if they're going to try to reinvent themselves to something that at least in some way represents Republican philosophies. And right now, honestly, it's anybody's guess because Trump continues to hold so much power and sway that he's like the elephant in the room, right? You can't ignore the impact that he is having on the senators. There's going to be some interesting information that comes out. There's going to be some clarity, I suppose, on how the events unfolded sort of step by step and what was going on, so that really by the time this trial is over, everybody really, really does have a very full picture of what happened, not only leading up to that day, but certainly what happened on January 6th. And again, it is all landing at Trump's feet. It's all landing with him. So it's not looking good for him. It's just really not looking good for him. In some ways, the country really is ready to sort of move on. And I don't mean move on and forget this. I mean, get this thing done and over with, find him guilty, and then finally already get on with the business of governing the country. And frankly, for a lot of people, just get on with their lives, right? I mean, Trump has been absorbing so much oxygen lately. It feels like he's a part of everybody's family because he's so much in our consciousness. And it would be really nice to be able to put him somewhere on a back burner and say, you, Mr. Disaster, have been contained. Interesting. Okay, so for most of you, this is my Trump card, right? So it looks as if the rule of law, the laws of the Constitution may actually have a bit more of a fighting chance than I think a lot of television pundits are letting on. They still are really gun shy, right? And so nobody's running around saying, no, they're gonna quit it, they're gonna find him guilty. Everybody is like, oh, well, you really can't count on those senators to do anything other than what they've always done. And that may well be true. But energetically, it really does feel like there is a shifting in energy that's taking place, so that really the rule of law kind of wins. And people who Trump thought were in his corner, he's going to discover that a lot fewer of them are. And again, you know what? You can pretend that, oh, this happened and it wasn't a big deal, or, oh, this happened and it was a huge deal, but it's over. But when you are presented with sort of a video script of the steps and just the methodicalness of it and the clarity, it brings into focus all of those sort of random pictures that we were all trying to process, and it puts them together in a very, very nice tight package. And so at some point, people really, really are not going to be able to continue to sacrifice themselves for Trump's greater good, because some of them may actually really start to understand that it doesn't really matter what they do. Trump doesn't care. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Mitch McConnell actually votes that he's guilty. I think in some ways, some of those more staunch Republicans are really trying to figure out a way to minimize the damage that Trump has done to the party and kind of take away some of his power. And so it's possible that there may be a few people voting in a way, I guess you could say, that we're really not expecting it. There's a lot of stress out there. There's a lot of tension. Trump's not sleeping. He's ranting and raving. He's carrying on. And meanwhile, the Democrats are systematically presenting their evidence calmly and rationally with a great deal of clarity. And so you have really, really, very, I guess, opposite kinds of tales being told. All right. So I'm going to ask my pendulum a couple of questions. And I have to tell you, you know what? I have been asking these questions 7 different ways from Sunday. I keep getting the same answer with regards to whether or not Trump's going to be found guilty. So I'm going to just ask again for, just for clarifications. We're just going to take a look at a couple of things. Before I do that, welcome all my new subscribers. Thank you so, so much, my established ones. I adore you. Thank you so much for the donations that have come in. They humble me, and I am filled with gratitude for that. So thank you very, very much. For those of you wondering, I have sold this house, and it was a good sale. I'm really pleased. And now I'm in the process of actually trying to find where I want to go, because the one that I really had my heart set on is really not available. He's got two deals pending on it. So we're going to continue to look, but I have complete trust and faith that I'm going to be led to exactly the right and perfect spot. And anybody looking for readings, I'm booking the last couple of weeks of February and like the second week of March. Possession date for this deal on this house is March 31st. So towards the end of March and probably the first week of April, I'm going to be busy dealing with that. So if you're looking for a reading, reach out to me at the email below in the description box. Okay. Pendulum, can we talk? Yes. Okay, good. Pendulum. Okay, back and forth, as you know, is yes. Okay, pendulum showing us yes. Pendulum, show us no. There we go. And pendulum, stop. Thank you. Okay. Is Donald Trump going to be found guilty in this second impeachment trial? Is he going to be found guilty of the charges? Yes. Is Donald Trump going to be acquitted of the impeachment charges that they're for the current trial? No. At this point, is Mitch McConnell likely to vote guilty in this matter? Is Mitch McConnell likely to vote against Trump? Yes. Some of the things that went on are currently being investigated. Like Fulton County is now started an official investigation of the phone call that Trump made to Georgia telling them to find the votes. So there are going to be all sorts of criminal charges coming along as a result of his behavior. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And are some of those charges likely to really, are those charges likely to stick? Are they actually going to cause him problems? Is he actually going to be found guilty of the terrible things we all know he did? Okay. And I'm going to ask this another way. In terms of state and federal charges, is Donald Trump going to get away with all of his misdeeds connected to his time as president? No. Okay, so you can see it doesn't matter how I answer the question, I'm consistently getting sort of the same answer. So I'm going to continue to monitor this and keep track. But there we have it for right now. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for helping us celebrate Jerri's 7th birthday. He's still on the corner of that couch right there having a nap. I guess he has to rest up for cake. Until next time, take care. Be well. We'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.